The newest Formula 1 games are awesome. The stimulation of the simulation of feeling like an actual F1 driver around these beautiful tracks is wonderful. The accuracy, for the most part, of being in the driver's seat sets it apart from the rest, and esports are just as exciting to watch as the real deal because of it. But today, we're going to look at something different. We're going to need to wind back the clock to September 1997. I was 3 at the time, oh crikey. Yeah, I love this game for nostalgic reasons for sure, as it was my first F1 game, but when revisiting Formula 1 97, I realised it's actually a masterpiece of its time and has some really cool features and cheat codes that will blow your mind. So let me show you why this game is so great, if you'll indulge me. Reason number 1! The legendary Murray Walker. The developers pitched the idea of him commentating for the game, and he was so impressed he signed a multi-year contract, and it's absolutely wonderful to hear him talk with so much passion, even when he's not actually watching genuine racing. And that passion's reflected in how he has a lot to say about each and every driver with so much enthusiasm. And Martin Brundle doesn't. Brundle is also here, but he will just give random facts about what's new for the year when there's a bit of a lull in the race or practice.
He knows what he's got to do, and he's doing it.
He sure does, buddy.
We're seeing that the tail-end teams have had to sharpen up their act.
You want to do that take again, Martin?
Backs into second position. That's exactly the start he would have wanted. Backs heavy on the brakes through that part of the course. This is looking good for championship points if he can give it up.
Classic Murray Walker. This game is pretty realistic. Seriously though, rest in peace Murray Walker. I will preface this by saying I'm not amazing at F1 games. I love them, but I'm no Jarno Opmeer. That said, for this video I did set the difficulty to the highest and didn't qualify so I could get footage of going through the field, as it'd be boring otherwise. And if you plan on doing this kind of last to first playthrough, I recommend turning off damage because
I don't know whose fault it was. He's hit Larini. Taken. I cannot believe it.
as you'd expect, you've got all the greats, Gerhard Berger, Mika Hakkinen, the legendary Michael Schumacher. Oh my gosh, yes! I forgot there's a Verstappen in this game! And, wait, Magnussen? Huh, I didn't realise Kevin's dad was a racing driver. I was just too young back then. What I like about this screen is it showcases all the drivers, and they all have the same sort of low-res pose in front of a grey background. But when it gets to Frentzen, he's just super up close for some reason. And Jacques Villeneuve isn't even mentioned by name. He's just Williams #1, and he's a silhouette. The only explanation is that he's copyrighted both his name and image. I know this sounds like I'm making a joke, but I'm actually being serious. I don't understand. Why did he do this? Looking at this copyright, the man went in depth. No, seriously, why did he do this? You can race on tracks individually, or you can take part in a championship. And with this, for the time, there's a surprising amount of settings you can change. From weather conditions to damage, flags, tyre wear, and more. Then for driving, you can set your brake discs, brake bias, front and rear downforce, fuel load, and more. It's actually fairly extensive. Again, this is 1997 on the PlayStation 1. And you know what? This game does some things better then than it does now. In modern F1 games, if you want to set up just casually racing, it can be a bit of a faff at times, but this game is super simple. Pick a racer, pick a track, or full championship, then with a single button you can switch between practice, qualifying, or the race. And let's say you go to practice, you can quit the practice and it immediately starts you in qualifying. No loading. This isn't edited to be faster. My word, modern F1 games takes ages if you want to skip this stuff. I get that there's more to load, but also, no, come on, this is great. But how does it play? The modern F1 games are going for peak realism, and there's only so much you could do back in 1997. In terms of how it feels to play, actually it's not too dissimilar from what we have now. A little karty, sure, but it feels great. The sense of speed you get is awesome. Turning corners and braking feels satisfying, and it's not like you're just gonna magically drift everywhere. It still feels like an F1 car. Just not a 2025 F1 car.
Are you okay?
Ah! Christ, no I am not alright. The voice of Satan's piles exploded and ruptured my eardrums. It's so sudden and so loud. Why have you done this to me? Seriously though, I'm not giving this game enough credit. This is genuinely such an impressive game for the time. As I say, it does genuinely feel great, and the fact that pieces of your car does fly off and affects your gameplay in damage mode is so impressive. Sure, if that happens, it's essentially game over and it'll take forever to get back to the pits, but it's really cool! Pit stops are pretty nice too. It took a while, but I fixed my wing, and I've got 34 laps worth of fuel when the race is only 5 laps long. I am gonna be a very slow boy. I almost forgot to talk about one of the coolest things. This game has a line guide, but it's really subtle as a slightly darker version of the tarmac, and it's such a good way of leading you and teaching you without being nearly as intrusive as the current ones. The current ones are great, don't get me wrong, I just think they were super clever with how they handled this. Now, if you're new to F1, you may be unfamiliar with some of the classic tracks. Buenos Aires, for example, it's a super fun track. But one of my favourite things about this game is the on-track branding. Back then, there was Marlboro, which is a cigarette brand, and Foster's, which is alcohol, but this is brilliant. They instead have Faster. Amazing. Well done. Now, let's talk about the FIA. The FIA, Formula One's governing body, objected to the use of the FIA logo on the game's packaging. Why? I have no idea. It's an official and decent game, so surely you'd think they'd be supportive. Well, the game was withdrawn from shops 6 weeks after its release. It was re-released without the offending logo, but the FIA was still unhappy. However, the FIA lost the court case, yes! But the game did continue to be sold without the logo, and yeah, that actually sucks. That would have seriously harmed sales, as the time that it would have been recalled would have been early November. Oh, you know, just in time for Christmas? Ho ho ho, we're the FIA. So as you can tell from the footage, I've been setting the camera for above the car, but you can absolutely change that. Here's a prime example from Sean Mega Man Alesi. No, really, he does look a lot like Mega Man, right? These gummy bear monstrosities are amazing, I actually love it. But it's not my preferred driving style. So, whilst you were looking at Mega Man, you probably noticed the extreme foggy thunderstorm, emphasis on fun. I actually love how it feels to control in the rain, but man, it is tough. You have to be on top of your game to get through a race unscathed, but when you get it right and correct the car, it is so satisfying. Especially if you do a god tier lap on qualifying or overtake in a cool way. I haven't really mentioned the grass yet. If you thought the rain was slippery, my word, if a centimetre of your tyre hits that grass, you'll be slipping harder than a cartoon character standing on a banana. It's kind of ridiculous, but also it does make the racing a lot more fair, as it's harder to cheat. Sort of. I'll tell you where it's easy to cheat though, arcade mode. This game is kind of actually 2 games in one. You have the Grand Prix mode, which everyone prefers, but arcade mode is pretty fun too. Ignore everything you know about F1 racing and just go all out. I mentioned earlier that you can't drift. Well, I mean, you can under certain conditions, but yeah, that's not entirely true, as arcade mode will have you drift anywhere and everywhere. I mean, look at this! I'm bouncing off the walls and it just doesn't matter. I love it. It's so silly, and the music that plays while driving in this mode is pretty epic. Actually, all of it is. This is the intense title screen. And this is the awesome main menu. You know how in kart races they sometimes have a mirror mode and it makes things a little confusing? Well, that's not in this, but the tracks have evolved over the years, so tracks you recognise are going to be drastically different in certain ways. My favourite is probably Monza. Okay, here we go. The long opening straight, let's head down into that tricky right chicane. Wait, no, it's on the left now. This feels so strange, I love it. In some ways it feels a bit like a fan-made track. But that's what the developers actually did. I think it's time to finally talk about cheat codes. There's a name editor, so that whole Williams #1 thing is technically not an issue, as you can replace the name to the illegal one. But if you name yourself Billy Bonus, you get 3 custom tracks and an alternate way to play Silverstone called 60s. How amazing is this? Just enjoy, soak in this cool custom track, soak in the glorious black and white 60s. Like, amazing! This is amazing! Changing your name to Virtually Virtual does, this. Little Wheels is probably my favourite. You just get these huge monster truck wheels. I love it. It's so good. The wheel collision is the same though as the wheels at normal, so the wheels just go through each other, and it's kind of anarchy at the start of a race, but I love it. The code Pieman is incredibly epic. It is literally the game Wipeout. Like, what? That's so cool! All of these cheat codes are, and people could potentially never see it. Imagine if this kind of stuff was in modern games. It'd be awesome. Zoom lens changes the camera to the helicopter cam, and good luck with that. Cat's Dogs makes it rain frogs, because why not? And Box Chatter does this. Oh my god. Oh my god.
The red lights are beginning to come on.
What? But it's synced. Why is it synced? They did so much work on this!
A bit of argy-bargy there, Martin.
You're right there, Murray.
These cheats are actually beautiful, as is the whole game. I can't state enough how impressive this game is for 1997. This also released before the original Gran Turismo. Nothing but respect to the game that arguably did it better than some of the future simulators and had so much more packed into it. And with that, I think I'll end it here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd very much appreciate it if you left a like, subscribed, and shared the video around. Tell me, what is your favourite F1 game? Have you played F1 1997? If you haven't, are you considering going back and trying it out now that you've seen this video? I'd love to know. I was looking at the developers, Bizarre Creations, and man, they had such a weird history. They only did 2 Formula 1 games, Formula 1 in 96, and then Formula 1 97 in 97. After that, they did stuff like the 4 Project Gotham Racer games, they did Blur, Geometry Wars games, James Bond 007 Bloodstone, and then just in the middle, Treasure Planet for the Game Boy Advance and PS2, you know, Disney's Treasure Planet? What a weird deviation. It's also such a shame, in 2010 Activision closed the studio down, so Pete Collier, Ben Ward and Stephen Cakebread, amazing name by the way, founded a mobile game developer, Hog Rocket, in 2011, and it shut down the following year. After that, I don't know what the developers did, but man, like, it's such a shame. They did such amazing games, and then it just, you know, ended so quickly. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I really appreciate you checking it out. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.